Welcome back, everybody, to AM. I'm Zach, joined, as always, by Sun Yoga and Winlung, and our guest today, Lxor, a local beatmaker, MC. How you doing today?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to your music last night, and I heard another language, but it's not one that I've ever heard. What language is that?
I think you're probably referring to the Portuguese I was speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you fluent in Portuguese?
Not really, but in certain aspects, I can speak Portuguese, okay. Under certain contexts.
Cool.
Yeah, so. And then it goes with the concept of what the songs were about, like in that particular project.
Yeah.
So.
What was that?
So I'm guessing you're talking about like the death industries,
yeah.
And like evil destiny, and so those are like prayers in Portuguese, but the concepts of the songs are very serious concepts. Like evil destiny is like throwing away the whole idea of like moving into a new positive era based on like what we're actually seeing going on around us. So it's like if like things continue on this trajectory, then this is the actual like natural consequences of what we're seeing in our universes. Like so, yeah. So it's some serious concepts with that, and the death industry song is basically shining some light on the industry. Like if death is not real and it's something that was like created. Then it was created to support the industry. It's a commercial enterprise.
Oh, wow. If death is not real and it was created, that's a great way to put it, because constantly in a lot of the studies and the teachings that I'm reading, it's that it is time for us to learn that death is not real and it's just the continuation to another level of life.
Exactly.
But I never thought of it as a death industry, like literally the concept of death being created to box it in.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Capitalism at its finest.
yeah. Interdimensional capitalism.
Yeah.
Just like the birthing industry, what really prompted Kara, my wife, to have a natural birth with no drugs and she wants to become a midwife, and she got her doula certificate, is watching what was it called? The Business of Being Born. It's a documentary on Netflix that I think she watched. It might have been on Gaia, one of the two. And the idea is, if you look at a birth certificate and you look at a shipping, like a
right.
shipping, it's the same thing. It's a product being born. It's the name, time, date, weight, boom, boom. It's the exact
serial
same
number.
Thing. And a lot of people don't really realize that concept. And there was the whole idea of a person being tracked like a product. And a lot of people don't. There is the concept and theory that we're being traded, like we're in debt. So basically, we as people are being traded to other countries to pay off our debt, right?
Oh yeah, we're capital.
Yeah. Like so, like we're basically like we're collateral damage for the debt of Congress, and we're just like denominations, and we're actually the money that's being spent in the bank, which is the court. And so, like, the United States Incorporated is a corporation, and the citizenry is being utilized as collateral to pay for the debt of Congress. And so you got, like, maritime admiralty law, and you got and you see the flag everywhere. It's not like we're not taught, like, exactly what that is. It's like the United States flag with the gold fringe around it. That it says a lot, because you see it in courts, you see it in banks, you see it in libraries, and yeah, it's definitely it's heraldry, and it's like showing that we're basically like corporate products ever since we were born. From born to death is we're being traded, and we have an estimated worth, and so
How literal is that? Like, I get what you're saying, but how does that show up literally in this neighborhood? No one's ever said to me, obviously, that starting a new job means that a new company is buying me. Like, how literal are we going to be with this?
Well, from my understanding, just being born in the United States, which is like not land. The United States is a corporation itself, and getting a birth certificate when you're born and getting like footprinted and all that, it creates a contract, and so and it creates a trust, and so it's basically like the fine print in the law system, in the legal system that binds you to this agreement. And so it's been going on for like generations, and it's one of the lesser known things about what's happening. But in my estimation, the reality is that like this is what I see going on all the time. Like you have a terminology. It's a civil death. It's out of the law dictionary. And so, like, civil death basically means like you've lost your rights as a human being, and I definitely see the symptom of people who lost their rights as a human being, like their life not mattering, them basically like getting shot by police, like it ain't nothing, and like people getting off on it, like
Right.
So like there's like a cult. Like legal system aspect to it, where like things are functioning, like the system is not really broken. It's functioning in the way that we haven't been told how it functions. So that's
Definitely not put up on the way it really works.
Exactly.
One of the Zeitgeist, the movie Zeitgeist. If I don't know if anyone we've all seen Zeitgeist or not. Have you seen Zeitgeist by any chance?
Is that the one about 9/11?
It has one part of 9/11. There's 3 different parts. It starts with the greatest story ever told, which is basically religion. Then it goes into the Federal Reserve, if I'm right, and then it does 9/11. It's those like 3 pieces of what those are.
And I believe Zeitgeist means the spirit of time.
Of the age.
Of the age, yeah.
It was really interesting when they spoke on any piece of mail that you get from businesses or other that has your name's in capital letters, because they are writing to you, the corporation. What we were talking about, being born, in the contract with your birth certificate. They everything will be addressed to you from the government. Everything that's addressed to you from other business is in capital letters, because they're addressing that you, which they have a business with. You are not the capital letter you. And there's actually, with the idea of the sovereign citizen and other ways to do, there is actually ways to say that's not me though. This capital letter me is actually not me. This is the corporation that they've assigned to my existence. When, if you even look at the Constitution, you're all born with inalienable rights, and who we are when you're born on this planet. And that was a huge thing for me that was really hard, is that we're free from the get. We're free from our names. I mean, I like I said, I love my parents and stuff, but I'm free from them immediately, in a sense, when you come to that awareness. Like, we are free to get up from this table, take off all your clothes, and walk into the mountain and live how you want. Now, we are, but there will people who will tell you that you're not. Mm-hmm. That's a weird game to live in.
Right.
When reality is, why not? Well, you can't, because... Why not? Because you say so? Because you tell me I can't? Yeah, like there are different games going on here. And it's really where people learn to play from. But obviously we're not taught that for why? Are we going to say that it's someone conspiring to us not to know these things so that we don't live them and become full human beings? Or is it just on accident or just does nobody know or remember anymore?
Right. Yeah. Like it's interesting what you're saying about the capital, the all cap name. So just like in the word itself, capital. So like we're basically branded as human capital, and so like all these terms and these titles that we use in society are meant to like tell society what kind of capital that we are, and slave terminologies, slave labels. So like basically like capital, the word capital it means head, and so it's like the profit derived off of your head, and which means like thoughts and like generating thought energy, and how that can be capitalized on. So yeah, it goes pretty deep with the words. Like it's basically like it's called word magic, and if you like look at the words, you look at the etymology of the words, that's where you can see it. Like the word bank, or the word bench, like where the judge rules from the bench. Bench means bank in Latin, and so like essentially the judge is a banker.
Because that's what the original maritime admiralty law, it was all banking issues, right?
Right.
When they'd go onto the boat, the judges would come over, but they'd be sitting on the boat. They weren't on the land yet, if I'm right. And you'd have to go onto the ship, cross through. That's why they have the swinging door because that's how you would cross into the ship, and you would meet the judge, and all that business would take part on the boats. But that was then. And who remembers that now? Right. And how many books has been written about that now? And then when people do put out stuff like Zeitgeist and these things, as we know, it's taken like, well, how do you know this? Or yeah, right. Now we were talking about that earlier. Like, this world is just wild, man. I mean, and that's the understatement of a century, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from everything you could theorize is going on. This is why I love living in this existence, is because of the awe that comes over me when I can perceive all the possible realities and go, how is all this even possible? Let alone that we can focus on sitting down and having conversations like this. It's like, you see why people go mad. You see why people go insane and don't know what to do. And you see why people need, in a sense, us to do what we do and help, just to be ourselves and lead by example, and to try to exist in this wildness and show that it can be done and that you can be healthy. Yeah. And there is a route that can lead to healthy, what health is for us, I think. So that's why I feel we're doing AMO. That's what this is. We're continue. I always said start the conversation, but it's really continue the conversation. This has been happening. There have been people like this forever having these conversations. Do you know you're free? Do you know you're alive?
Yeah.
Do you know you're free? Do you know you're alive? Do you know what that really means? Right?
Have you said the word 20 times to yourself? And then at the end you go, is that even a word?
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, I think that like, I feel most of us are really afraid of having freedom because of the level of responsibility that it takes to truly be free. And so freedom is like responsibility for your whole destiny, responsibility for your whole life. Not being able to ask anybody or anything to come and save you. So it's definitely a quantum leap that we have to take in order to truly be free, and so just being born in a physical body and all the limitations that come with that, and then the whole corporatocracy structure around the physicality of what we're born in is a whole lot, and so it's going to take a definite for lack of a better term, learning curve for us to get to a level of okay, now I'm mapping out my freedom for real. And
I felt the same thing with where was I gonna go with that? you're saying being born into this physical reality. Obviously, we're not breaking all these buildings down. They're here, right?
Right.
It's like you're saying the freedom. Like I was talking about going to the mountain and getting naked. Well, I've got to build a house. I've got to find food. Like you said, real freedom.
Yeah.
Like all the responsibilities. I leave this and I don't have a stove anymore. I don't have heat anymore. I've got to find new clothes, I guess, maybe. You know, all these things. So you're right. The weight of that responsibility. We don't know that anymore. And in America, we're not going to know that. There's barely land for hippies to go create communes on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? To get off of the grid. You know, and these days they're hunting those people down and trying to get them on the grid, right? And or starting fires maybe and to burn people out of the mountains and get them into cities. There's obviously a lot of this whole fire situation around here has been obviously theorized of what's going on, why that's happening, all the agendas and stuff. But so if that's not possible for this era of incarnation, right? Us who are in houses and cars are everywhere, and what is that next step for us to become aware of our freedom within the system that we're in, right?
Right.
So that's the question I think we're at now. Does that make sense? That we're in this. We can't break down all these houses and disappear them and act like and get back to the ground per se. So we've got to find the solution within the pollution, within the problem we're in.
Right.
Or I'm just asking basically, what do we think?
I don't think the five of us in this room... Hey, Trip.
Hey, Trip.
I don't think the five of us in this room are in the system. Maybe physically, I've got my Social Security card, but we're not the majority, and our viewers are not the majority. Critique and change will always come from outside the comfort zone, which is why we're doing this.
You know, something Picasso said, he said, art is a lie that makes you see the truth. And I've always loved that term, and I've kind of come to realize that everything is a lie that makes you see the truth. And I think that's very apt. A lot of times when I'm talking to James about philosophy and the metaphors of life, our eyes, if we want to see something in the night, like a star, you don't look directly at it, you look to the side, because the rods and cones are set up differently to perceive something better like that. And I think that metaphorically is very similar to what I was saying about the lie that makes us see the truth. I think we're already making this change. I think there's a tipping point in life where things get so overwhelming or so whatever that is that most people can't help but see it. We can't help but see how much of a lie reality has become. And then we can, like, we're all talking about this right here on a podcast. Like, that's big. And people will vibe it, people will relate to it, and more people are questioning things. Like, instead of people just going, oh, that's a conspiracy, and more people are going, well, doesn't that just mean 3 people agreeing on something? And it's like, oh, okay. It's like looking again and then again and again and going, oh, but is that really? I think it's already, changes are happening.
It's like the process of shifting our trajectory and our like orientation from like what we've been handed through like society into something completely different, and while still existing on this physical plane, but being able to actually, get free within our own self-awareness. Like I feel like self-awareness will bring us to the level of being able to balance these energies and be able to move into something that we didn't expect.
Yeah, self-awareness. That's the word, and that's what we were just talking about a little before you got here too. It's like so. That's it. That's what I speak of when I speak of those moments that I had these when I'd be by myself reading a book or meditating in my own mind and thinking about reality and just having awareness upon awareness of what awareness is, right? And this is where I realized that I would have been a philosopher in any other era, that I am at this point. But, I would have been just chilling with all the philosophers. And I remember the day I said, when I realized you could do that. I didn't know there were people like Aristotle and Plato who that's what they did their whole life. I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do in this world. And then it's like, that's what I wanted. You mean you can do that? You mean I don't have to go get a job like this? But well, you got to figure out where you're going to eat and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, but I didn't even know that was an option, that you could think about reality. I was just experiencing it. Where do you think do you have a moment or any time in your life when you started to become self-aware? Was it through hip-hop? Was it through
definitely the influence of hip-hop really helped me to be self-aware, as a child and a teenager growing up, because just like the messages that were being expressed and everything that was coming through, like what I was listening to, put myself in that reality, and the knowledge and the awareness and the consciousness that's in the music, opened me up to a whole lot of thoughts and information and knowledge and wisdom as well, and being able to find that within myself, and seeing that this connection with that in myself is something that's always been inside of me. And so like now just like feeding it through my own artistic creation and expression, and and then bringing it outside of myself. So like the whole process of creating art is like moving into your self-awareness even more and more. And then, it even goes beyond that to where like, I would be meditating and just like fully getting the picture of like what I wanted to write in a song. And so, so it's all pretty much the same thing. Like it's like not everything has to be ritualized in a meditation. Like we're meditating constantly all the time. And so like there's like meditations happening while other things are happening. And
where did you grow up at?
So I was born in Alabama, and I grew up in Colorado like for most of my childhood. Okay. And then I moved to Germany for like 5 years. So my mom remarried, and my stepdad was in the military, so we moved to Germany, and then came back to the States, lived in Kentucky for like 2 years, Kentucky, Tennessee area for like 2 years, and then moved to Hawaii like in my late teens.
Nice. You got a great little like makeup of different vibes.
Yeah, definitely like, very eclectic, and grew up around a lot of different hip hop scenes and circles and people.
Okay. And then you've been up here in the Oregon, Ashland area, you said about 10 years?
About 12 years.
Oh, 12 years. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, everywhere within the Southern Oregon circuit, like, not just one place, but just like all the places.
Okay. I was telling them earlier that listening to hip hop music, and we're talking about the different cultures and the speaking truth and stuff. I said being a white kid getting into hip hop, I too was born into this world of, I always say, gummy bears, skateboards, and baseball, and like this is just what you do, and the government's the government, and go to work, it's what you do. And I said listening to hip hop music coming from a culture that wasn't benefiting from that structure, hearing what they were saying immediately told me that there was something wrong with what I was living every day. Wrong is in the sense of it wasn't true for everybody. It wasn't working for everybody.
Right.
Listening to the hip hop culture, the black culture, and everyone else who was feeding through there to me as a young white kid was going, wow, the world's a lot different for other people than it is for me. I guess I didn't know there was differences at that point. This is like 6th, 7th, 8th grade too, listening to Slick Rick in 6th grade, starting to get into NWA in 7th and 8th grade, coming in through the 2 Live Crew era, First things that were introduced to me was all the stuff that was mainstream available, which was gangster rap, a lot of the sex rap, being a young kid listening to 2 Live Crew, you're like, whoa, they're rapping about, I can't show my parents this, you know what I mean? But there's something about the confidence and the power that they were coming with that I never experienced anywhere else. There was nobody with that kind of confidence. I mean, my dad was a very confident person, but it was very subdued. It was like this, This was, whoom. And when I heard Scarab say, "Where I'm from a people who had to steal their freedom back," I think about that through hip hop and art so much.
Yeah.
How it's like, and Public Enemy and X-Clan and these kind of groups that really spoke on it. I mean, when I met Brother Jay, had the pleasure of being around Brother Jay from X-Clan a couple times.
Nice.
And he was like, "Hey," he's supposed to rap, and he goes, "Can we just sit down? Can I just talk to y'all for a minute?" And he had everyone sit down in the place. And he's like, hip-hop back in the day was like a dope barbecue and everybody be rocking and all the people, but it was, he said, but if someone came to us and was like, "Yo, I was just on this block and they called me this, boom, boom," we'd be 10,000 on the block the next day. 10,000. He goes, not 100. Be 10,000 people on a block saying that's not going to go down. He said that Tribe Called Quest and like De La Soul couldn't come play at their shows. He said they were considered soft. They were considered like, and that's crazy because to me they're like hip hop, right?
Right.
It's like, that's like Tribe Called Quest, and that's that real hip hop. That's that real golden era. He was like, they weren't even allowed to play at our shows. They'd be booed off stage.
Whoa, yeah.
Because they weren't speaking to the everyday, but I'm sure they were in their own way. I mean, I'm sure I would love to be in a conversation where Q-Tip and Pasta News and Brother Jay were all sitting down and to have that conversation of who's hip hop and who isn't and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just amazing and an honor to hear that coming from him and to get a little more perspective on what hip hop has been, where it's coming from. And really watching the Hip Hop Evolution documentaries shows on Netflix. Have you seen any of those?
I don't think I have.
They're really well done. And actually, I just talked to Abrud on the phone, and they just got interviewed for season 3. So the season 3 for the Hip Hop Evolution is going to go and actually do the whole Good Life. And they're going to do all the underground.
That's
because
dope.
they did all the stuff that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And now they're looking for all the people who influenced the people that we don't know about. So they just interviewed AC and Ab and all those people. I know. I was thinking, I'm on the phone talking to them. I said, finally, they're catching up to what we know. But it was neat to, I wrote in a line. I said, and it's hip-hop's originators that I owe for this awareness, that I know that I'm consciously living. Though I know it's God now and it's the spirit and it's what they were channeling through. It was through hip-hop that I heard lines from Gift of Gab or AC Alone, or lines like "God said sacrifice and now my soul he caress." Like these, through hip-hop brought me spirituality. Literally philosophy, thinking. And then I realized, people have been doing this forever, and it's just called different things.
Right.
So, I mean, what a time to live in when the hip-hop culture has come about the way it has, And what I love the most is these people aren't gone. We are still, and that's what I love, because people think, those are the old guys. No, KRS-One's still rocking hard. And ain't nobody fronting on him. I saw him at a show. One of the best lines I heard him say says, "I shine so bright, when I come to town, none of the stars come out." It's like P. Diddy don't show up at his shows in New York. He'd get sunned.
Yeah.
Like the famous rappers don't show up at his shows in L.A. because they have no relevance to that game. Their gun bars ain't gonna work on KRS-One. That's a beautiful thing to know, that we are still in that time, that De La Soul's still making albums, that we're still here, and
Yeah, totally. Like, what's true will survive, and like, it's always gonna level out. And so like, it's definitely like, hip hop is the root. It's definitely been like my root of like, just being alive, living, and being able to like, function in reality, and I mean, I grew up on a lot of Wu-Tang Clan, and I grew up on like Freestyle Fellowship, and that's listening to like pretty much everything in that early '90s time, and but my favorites were like definitely like the West Coast Underground, and and like what was going on the East Coast at the time, Mobb Deep, Group Home. You know, I was like bumping Onyx and
Yeah, Onyx.
yeah.
That was the first day I was called a wigger.
Oh yeah.
Skateboarding. I bought Onyx. That album. I saw the song Slam on MTV Raps. They did that. I went the next day to Musicland. Bought the tape. Was bumping it. I was skateboarding, and this cat rolled. What are you listening to, man? Oh, this. You put it on. He's like, "Bro, are you a wigger?"
What?
I was like, I don't think I'd ever even heard that term, but I understood immediately what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I went, "No, dog, it's like I like rap music, you know." I put my headphones back on and I just skated off. And I was thinking, okay, I guess some people just don't get it, you know. And I didn't know what I was even into at that point. I mean, when Onyx was rocking, it wasn't like I was on some deep spiritual underground stuff yet. It was still coming through MTV. It was still being, you know, I remember seeing Goody Mob's Cell Therapy, you know, Who's That Peeping in My Window.
Yeah.
When that video came on, man, that whole vibe blew.
Yeah, like they were a little bit ahead of their time with like their message in that song. Like they're just pretty much like laying out like the New World Order plans and like
that whole album.
Yeah.
Dirty Bill Clinton fronted me some weight. Told me so. I stuck his ass with 3. You think he's gonna sick his goons on me? You know what I mean? Like that's what, you know, you're getting from hip hop was the truth, a raw version of a reality that you don't live every day. And I think that's what was attractive to everybody. And at one point, being a white kid in hip hop, I kind of wondered if the people who created it knew that they had created the solution for the mind, for us to be free again. I personally gave hip hop that credit of like the new religion, the new Jedis, the new Renaissance. It's been a Renaissance on American land. It's the newest. It's been a Renaissance that is basically saying, wake up again.
It's been around too long for it to be an accident. Like I know as much about film as you know about hip hop. I don't know that much about hip hop, but you know, people see things in animations and they wonder if it's an accident. It's not an accident. Too much time and effort goes into this stuff.
Yeah. And then it was brought to me with the whole idea of the Zulu Nation and the 5%ers and other people who were doing the knowledge. When J. Rue the Damager, Wrath of the Math, that album. Listening to that album again lately, I put a sample on that on my last album because my daughter picked that album up. And I went, "Oh, you want to hear that? Yeah, I'll play that for you." You know, and I put it on the record player and getting to listen to the vibe of that album again and going, man, I remember bumping this nonstop when I had it, and just really not understanding the idea of the math and doing the mathematics of the letters of the words,
right.
And as you said earlier, the word magic, spell casting, which is a big reason why I don't say certain things anymore in raps and stuff, because I realized we are spelling. With the 26 letters. And the whole idea of them reversing the language. Have you watched Kymatica?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
This Kymatica, man. If you haven't seen Kymatica, also narrated by Ben Stewart, who, if I'm right, narrated Zeitgeist, talks about when the people who study languages studied the ancient languages and studied our English language we use, they completely reversed the formulas to where when we speak, it's almost we're speaking backwards to the way the ancient people spoke spiritually.
Right, and we're also reading backwards as well.
We literally, and is that an accident? Did that just? This is the funny thing, right? Because, and I say it this way because there will be many people that don't want to buy into the fact that it couldn't be an accident, that it could actually be
true.
Legitimately an agenda placed upon us. And it's like, you know, and it's in a forum like this, you gotta hey, we're just trying to put it on the table to say, can we put enough valid points on the table on this side to show that there might be some validity to it? You know, we're thinking it, and then we're far from the only ones. You know, it's a beautiful time that we can sit down like this and conversate like this, and that it can be put out. And this is where the technology comes into play, where we can share it with people, where it can be a tool used by humans with human spirit to help.
Right.
You know, but if we think we have to do this to do it, then we're missing the point of getting rid of all this and just having a conversation and accumulating that spirit that comes from having these conversations, and then going to work and affecting everyone that you touch at work with this. It's the same thing. You know, we're just joining the system in a sense this way to say, hey, we'll play a little bit in this game. But I also heard something like YouTube's like censoring videos now in a different way.
And Facebook.
Did you hear?
Yeah, I heard apparently that YouTube is starting to wanting to like ban conspiracy videos.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
So then where's our free mode? Is it Venmo now? Is it Vimeo? Not Venmo, but Vimeo. You know, there's got to be another program.
I would rather have Alex Jones come back than to have YouTube turn into a self-imposed censorship bureau.
well, they say since we've given so much power to YouTube by what everyone's looking there, and stuff that it's kind of given them the where else are we going to go? Where are you going to put your video that 1 million people can see it? What's the next platform? So I'm sure there's platforms out there people are trying to create to, and I to battle YouTube, saying, hey, right.
Yeah. And I hope YouTube takes the more difficult path and does not censor.
Well, they're owned by Google, so
Yeah. Then you got the dark web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know. I mean,
I've
Actually,
never,
a lot of
I've
people
never been
don't.
on the dark
I
web.
don't think I know about it either, per
I don't
se.
even know how to get there.
You have to turn the lights off.
You just unplug the cord from the wall.
Drop some knowledge on it.
So I've been on the dark web, but I'm very careful about where I go. I just wanted to snoop around and see what the hell is this about. So the dark web is completely untracked part of the internet where there's a lot of different black markets going on and pretty much like super illegal shit happening, and so it's pretty much like a space that things are being sold like guns, kidneys.
I was thinking drugs,
But no, I mean, they do some wild shit. You're talking dark web, you're talking about people doing a lot
artillery,
of stuff.
people getting snuffed.
Yep.
All that.
Wake up in their bathroom, and then you've seen that movie where they wake up in the bathroom and they're on ice,
Yeah.
and they've lost their kidney, and they don't know how they got there.
Yeah, so I mean that. So you have that, and you have as far as information sharing, I mean, I'm pretty sure when we become dark web literate, we can have our own little niche there that's away from all that other shit. You're yeah, we're gonna share some knowledge here that can't nobody fuck with.
They can't stop it.
Yeah.
But I would imagine, one of the ironies of this whole thing is a kid that I went to high school with was the CEO of YouTube, and he wrote the Google business plan. And I graduated high school with him in Merced. For me, that doesn't shock me because I feel of what I've been aware of and what I do here in this world, But it was very interesting that someone I can't say I was close to him, and I don't really want. I mean, you could look. I don't want to really mention his name or anything. He is who he is, but to find that out, that a kid from my hometown wrote the Google business plan and was the CEO of YouTube at one point was very interesting that we're that close to these power movements, that it's in this generation that we're all playing here in this new game of creating self-awareness, which is really what our job is, to just carry the torch, to continue the conversation so that it's not forgotten.
Right.
That it's not forgotten. Write it down. Put it in the stone tablets. Hide it in the cave. They'll find it 100 years from now.
Tell it to your kids.
Tell it to your kids.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing I always think I could pass on to Junie is, as far as I was I know how far out I'll go, where I am. And I read something about her, when I was reading her charts and different things, and how she there was something saying that she could get really far out, and I didn't want to try to influence her path too much. I want to be my influence to her, but I know that my parents did not choose for me to be an MC, a rapper. So I had to real quick realize, she's going to make decisions in her life that I will have nothing to do with, and it's her destiny. Because my parents did not know that I was doing this. I sprung it on them at one point. So they had no influence in that at all. And that was a wild thought, that I could have chose something that's so young that influenced the rest of my life without their help, which made me see that we all have that ability to create our own destinies beyond what other people think we should do, or beyond the influence of the most influential people in our lives. So, I want to, like, this whole bookcase is hers. I say, when I pass on and stuff, like, will she ever read them? I don't know. I can't make her read them. I can just have the books in there and go, oh, these are my dad's books. And maybe one day she'll have reverence for them and start to read them and go, oh, wow. Or maybe she's already up on it, When I'm meditating in the morning and when she wakes up, usually I'm always meditating when she wakes up, I don't come out of the meditation when I even hear her footsteps. I stay in it. And she'll come up and she'll try to wake me up. She'll push me in different things, and I'll just want to let her know, like, something I'm doing, just see it. These kind of things, just trying to lead by example. She's going to imitate me. Mm-hmm. So how can I? And you know this. You have a daughter. That idea of passing this kind of awareness on without forcing.
Yeah, because they'll have the curiosity to like see what you're doing and like begin to like start asking you questions about what are you doing? Like I'm meditating or I'm reading this book or
When I do this with Junie, I said, what do we say? And she'll go, Om. So she knows Om. She'll sit in my lap sometimes, and it's really neat just to see, okay, cool. I didn't know that at 3 years old. That didn't come to me like till 23, 24.
Yeah,
so the fact that she might say that word at 3, I'm already like, yes. That's that next generation.
Yep.
And what will they be dealing with when they're in their 40s? I mean, we're here now. Where will she know? And it's just.
I like how you said, "Where will she know?" Yeah.
Like a breath of fresh air.
A breath air.
A
fresher breath air.
I kept saying that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Is there another roomy depth for Junie?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in it for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to touch back on what you were saying about rap a second ago, or a couple minutes ago, or 7.5, definitely 7.5 minutes ago.
Definitely, I was talking for a long time.
Is that, I remember at that one point when I heard certain rap songs and I realized they were slipping in drug information, like how to, weights and measures and how to get away with things and stories about like 99 Problems, like when I found out that was a specific story of when he avoided getting caught because they couldn't bring the drug dog, that's what the ain't one. And it's like they're slipping information in there that unless you are on that speed and want to hear that fast, you can't, like the way I normally rap, my parents are like, you need to slow it down, it's like, it's the speed my mind works at. I digest quickly. It's really intriguing as a concept of hiding the truth in plain sight, hiding your valuables on the table instead of the safe. And it's like, it's cool that there's been, gang stuff, there's been drug stuff, and there's been wisdom. Mm-hmm. Like KRS-One, the first time I heard him say something about know the ledge, and I was like, knowledge? And I was like, whoa, there's something else, and it's beautiful because capitalism wants to make something off of everything. And the most pure things, the truth, the reality, just like the rods and cones, I don't want it to be assailed, to be able to be corrupted. And I love that we're hiding it in plain sight. It's like, yeah, I rap. If you want to judge me on that face value, that's fine. But like, I've often referred to how I perceive your music as like source prose, like source code, but it's like, you're tapping into something and you're speaking to all these levels and I mean that's where it's at. If you can say anything when you're right here at the mic, why not say that stuff?
Yeah, because basically there's so much that needs to be said because there's so much that's being suppressed in order to like uphold a status quo perception and in society that things are a certain way in order to control the population. And so when we have access to a microphone and we can say whatever the fuck we want, then it's like, wow, I have this power in front of me. I have this opportunity to actually like speak on the truth that's been getting suppressed.
Yeah.
and speak on the realities that I've been living and that I've been seeing in my day to day, that might actually be able to like help inform somebody about like things that are going on. And so, and that's what like MCs have been doing through these years, is like passing through knowledge, like metaphysical knowledge, all these different levels of awareness, not just through the words themselves, but also the sounds and the beats and the tonality and the frequencies and like the melodies and like the samples and all of it like coming together to create a collage of awareness and consciousness that is being transmitted, that is like not controlled. It's it's not sponsored by any sort of like corporate. Well, I mean now, certain aspects of it is, but but like
when he's talking about the speed, especially like you were talking about growing up listening to Freestyle Fellowship.
Yeah.
When I was listening to them, at one point I was at like, we're gonna stop saying words. They're going to start going, and we're going to know what it means, And you really think, go back to Africa and the speaking there with the clicking and different things. They were already doing that, per se. But as a young white kid sitting in my room listening to Inner City Griots, and hearing Shammy and all these other songs they're doing and going, they're rapping so fast and the speed. And I realized it taught me to listen with like micro attention to listening, where you would play rap for people and I can't understand it. I'm like, well, you have to learn to listen quicker and more acute, right? And I think the song Seventh Seal off the first album, For Whom It May Concern, is still probably his most famous song, Micah 9's song.
Yeah, that song is super dope.
To see him doing that, he just did that on his 50th birthday party. They had a little video of him doing that song. And you listen to that song. If no one's if you guys haven't heard Seventh Seal by Micah 9 off the first Freestyle Fellowship album, it's a special song of like, man, just opening awareness to.
Yeah.
He even speaks of how much that affected his peers, because they weren't really rapping about that kind of stuff. And he came in with that, they will come from a sky beam, they will come, and...
Yeah, that track is super ahead of its time. Like I'm blown away. Like I started listening to Freestyle Fellowship because my brother was like listening to it, and he got me onto it. He was like, he older than me. Like 8 years older than me, and I was like, in second grade.
Oh wow!
So it came out in like 1992, and I was in second grade at the time, and the first album that I heard from Freestyle Fellowship was Inner City Griots.
Griots, okay.
And then
I was wondering how you said it.
And then after a while, I heard To Whom It May Concern.
Yeah. Me too. I heard that one first, and then I found the other album.
Yeah, so I was like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
like, this shit is like so dope." Like,
well, I didn't know if they were freestyling the whole thing because they were called Freestyle Fellowship. So I didn't. Are they freestyling this whole album? I didn't, and that's kind of what gave me the confidence to freestyle so much, because this sounds amazing. I don't know if they're freestyling everything, but they're definitely freestyling some of this, and I can't tell the difference between what is freestyle and what isn't. So what really was like, this is something you have to know as an MC, is how to freestyle. And that's really what gave me my confidence, because I didn't believe in my writing. I didn't excel in school in English. I didn't read books. It was not that thought I could rap. I actually did not write my first album until 2007. So I've been rapping for 10 years before I put out my first album. Wow. But it was freestyling what I could do, because it was like I had the effort. I could attempt something through freestyle and to find meaning, and it would be from looking people in the eyes. It's really taught me. I think like a lot of people when they're young, I had no self-confidence in a sense. I was really shy. I was kind of like doing my thing, and that taught me I had to like step forward. That's where I earned the confidence in MCing, where I could rap in front of anyone, anywhere, anytime. And it became that moment, as most MCs would know, if someone would walk up, "Oh, you rap?"
Yeah.
Rap. I'd be like, before the P hit their mouth, I'd be spitting verses,
right,
hard on them, and then it'd be like, "Oh, okay, bro. Oh, you really do that?" Like, yeah, I really do that. You know what I mean? It was like, it was that game. And that's what I always talk about too. It wasn't about race or anything then as much either. I think it's more now than then, that because the underground hip hop I grew up in with the Visionaries and the San Francisco culture, and so there was Company Flow. Yeah. LP and all them, like there were white people, Filipinos, Mexicans, black. It was everyone in that generation, that underground hip hop generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I believe, like from the inception of like hip hop, there were always multiple races and multiple cultures coming together to create this one culture, and so, you know, it's been pretty diverse since the beginning, and you know, from as far as what I can tell. So yeah, and at the, you know, things are like shifting, like, you know, people are becoming more. I think they're becoming more like race conscious these days, and
You think is that a tactic of divide?
I think we're out of time, and I think this is a great place to stop.
Are we out of time?
Yeah. Are we out of time? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I would just say, I remember, I think I said this in the last one too. When some of this stuff was going down, it might have been after the whole Baltimore situation, if I'm right, with the Tiki Torch. Was that in Baltimore? Yeah. When that went down, I think Ab Rude got online the next day and he wrote, "Just remember, they're trying to divide us."
Yeah.
He didn't come on like Trump or this. He just came on, be careful. You know, don't let them separate. Like, becoming conscious. Like, I'm very conscious that I'm a white person and it's like that, but don't start letting that separate the human factor of this, that we're all in this together.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely forces that are like political agendas that are out to like separate us and to like shift our perceptions and to make us think that we're like enemies on this level of like, you know, terrestrial different bodied individuals, and like all these concepts of self that are like illusionary concepts that are not actually like real, but you know, they're just like going along with the branding of human beings being like, you know, I'm this and I'm like playing this role in society. And so like, yeah, so there's definitely you know, political agendas to watch out for in the respects of like division.
And they're getting into our social agendas, you know. I mean, they've taken them from the political level and put them into our Facebook, our Instagram, to where now, you know, oh, you're doing this and you're a white person, you do this, or you're, you know, they're really like categorizing people and putting them in things so that we can start to judge them that way. And I just always feel about when I started this, it wasn't on that. Could you do it?
Yeah,
show and prove was the term.
See, that's the thing though, like, because I you know, like I see some people like online talking about, well, you know, if you can't like do hip hop if you're white because like you're cultural appropriating and all that. Like, that's bullshit. Like, you know, actually hip hop, you know, from its inception was inclusive and diverse, and so like, you know, somebody without any skills coming in, or like, you know, vulturing off the culture, you know, that's more of a cultural appropriator than having to do with like race and skin color, because it's pretty like, you know, it's pretty like diverse and a whole jungle and a whole like.
Right, it takes everybody to make it work. The Karis One Declaration of Peace that I have on my wall in there, he's got like people all around. He has MC Search on there, and I remember he went through and he freestyled about every person on there and what their contribution to hip hop was to him. And he spoke on MC Search about if it wasn't for Search, there'd be no Eminem. You know, he was like one of him and Third Base and those guys on the East Coast, first besides the Beastie Boys, white group who earned the respect.
Right.
You know, and I remember watching the very last Yo MTV Raps, and I just saw a replay of it. And there's all the MCs are there, right? And they're on there and they're rhyming. And Search is on there. He's like, well, the only white guy on there, you know, and he's waiting to rap. And they're like rhyming, and they're like, Search, you want to get some? And like Eric Sermon just took the mic, you know, right before he got it. And Search would just smile. And he's a big dude, you know what I mean? I didn't realize he was like 6, you know, something. He was like a big dude, which probably helped him stay in there and hold his own in that way, you know. And Sermon grabs the mic and rock. And Search ended up being the last MC to rock, but I just watched him as like the only white rapper, you know what I mean, in this game, like hold his poise, smile, pay respect, and get his time to go in there and rock, you know. But he was right there with everybody, holding his own, MCing. I always knew that it was a mix of everybody. I even, in one time in a freestyle, was saying that, and this girl started saying, no, there was no white people, there was nobody, else involved. And I said, well, how do you know?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure in every poor neighborhood, there's a few of everybody.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Just look at the old like graffiti documentaries.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's always like white cats busting graffiti and like with the blacks and just like everybody just coming together just like for the love of the art. And so you're thinking about like New York City, pretty diverse area from what I can see, and like so.
And Karis One says it in the gospel hip hop that I've been reading lately. They talk about. He even says it. If you're putting race on this, you're out to lunch on it. You know what I mean? This is
right.
not. This was created by everybody. Will be, but we can. We can wrap it up right here.
That's an hour.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's usually what we do, an hour.
We got back to diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
I like a happy ending.
And we can do this again sometime. We'd love to have you in and talk some more about this.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you have a show on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what you got real quick. Just let them know.
So I have a YouTube channel. It's Project Unveil TV. And so I have a TV show on there, basically getting into some things that I'm wanting to talk about. So like getting into the subject of the deep state and different conspiracies that I have evidence for, and like quoting certain books and just trying to like shine light on some things that I feel like are being like suppressed or that are being like not looked at, that need to be looked at, that are very pertinent because
like what we're talking about. And then you have some music on there too. You're also putting music videos on there too of people who are talking about these things and are part of this too, right?
Yes. It's also like a music video hosting and just like bringing it all together like that. So
and then music on SoundCloud too under Lxor.
Yeah, okay. Music on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, Lxor. .bandcamp.com. So
and we'll put that up in the episode too. They'll be able to find those links and stuff on that too. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming. You really pulled me out of my comfort zone today, and I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you all too. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, and thank you, Trip.
Yep. Peace.
Yes.
Sounds of AM.